This is Andrea Saltzman Martin and Katie Hughes. We're going to share several courses in Blackboard with you. All of them were developed by Course Design Institute participants. Katie will share her course with you, and I'll share several others. In addition to this video, you will be given access to copies of these courses so that you may go in and take a closer look. You're welcome to repurpose elements that are being shared with you, such as how to engage in Zoom office hours, take quizzes in Blackboard, submit assignments, etc. However, try to put things in your own words rather than just copying and pasting. You'll notice many similar elements across the courses. Certainly, there's plenty of room for you to put your own style into your course while keeping a design that's easily navigable for your students.
Following the principles of the Conquering the Content book that talk about chunking your content in your course, I am going to show you how I have interpreted that for mine. Over here on the left, you can see the modules are each self-contained units. So if you click on, let's say, Module 1, there's a prompt that goes with it, and each one is the same. When you click on it, it starts with a prompt. Then there's text and videos that contain any readings, or in this case, I just have recordings of my live sessions there. Let's look at Module 2, has a larger selection, text and videos, and there's a variety of things that they have to read or watch, and I list them in the order that they have to do it. Go back and show you also that if you have other things, like I have a research project there, so there's a folder for that, resources there, and then I always have an assignment submissions folder that have the links to anything they have to submit. And they're labeled, and there are instructions when needed. So for example, I do a lot of Turnitin assignments, and I have the instructions here on what they should do when they submit there. Going back over to the left here, I have as my first menu item is Start Here, and that's the first thing they are instructed to look at, with a welcome video and a little syllabus and course policy acknowledgement. Normally the page would open to announcements. Then here in the syllabus and schedule area, obviously the syllabus, but what I wanted to really point out here is how the schedule is set up. You can see that I have identified everything they need to do for each module by the date that it's either due or happening. So if you look at Module 1, I'm sorry, this is before Module 1, Start Here, week 1, what day is it? Here's what they have to do. They have to watch these two things, they have to read these two things, and by 11:59 p.m. they need to submit these assignments. And so the same system is followed throughout the semester for every single day, as you can see. So sometimes, for example, on this day, you can see there's a lot more that they have to do. I keep the instructions to a minimum here and put submission link instructions with the actual links themselves. So hopefully this is going to be helpful to you in creating a course design for your online course.
Now let's take a look at Paula Peters' Marketing 371 course. You'll notice that on her course menu, she starts with a Read Me First link, and then she has announcements, her syllabus, information on how to contact her, frequently asked questions, and then her weekly modules. So let's take a look at Read Me First. Here she welcomes the students to the course and gives them some information that you would typically find in the syllabus. She also includes information about the flow of the course, as well as tips for success. In her Start Here section, she provides a brief overview of the course, an introduction to herself, and talks about the structure of the course, that they'll first be watching something, reading something, and then doing something in each section of the course. So let's take a look at week 1. There's a rhythm and a ritual to her course, and she starts with reminders and tips for the week, everything that they'll be watching, reading, and doing. Notice she also gives the time that they can expect to watch each video, and these are all individual lectures that she provides. So they'll watch a 4-minute video, 6 minutes, almost 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and 5 minutes. And then they'll do some reading from the textbook. And she lists all the activities that they'll be doing. So first they have to fill out a syllabus form, and they'll take quizzes on the chapters and complete one assignment. And notice she has all of the assignments linked on from the sidebar under assignments. So when the students go there, they'll see what they need to do and the dates that they're due by. So everything that they'll ultimately do is linked here, but it's described in greater detail within each of the weekly modules. So notice week 2 has a similar look and feel. The students come in and they get tips on how to be successful. They have links to what they'll be watching. Some of these are links to her own lectures, and others are out to videos on different websites. And then again, what they'll be reading and what they'll be doing. Now, in Paula's class, the students are actually required to come to campus for the exam. So notice when they click on exam 1, it gives the date information, but then it reiterates the fact that they will be coming to campus at a particular time and location to take these exams. So we'll talk about the option to require on-campus exams and other opportunities that you have to monitor how they're taking exams. Here is Allison Bond's Psychology 407 course. Again, you'll have access to this, so anything that I don't show you that you're interested in, feel free to check it out on your own. So here is her course menu. She also has a Start Here area, and then she has all of the kind of tools and resources for the course, followed by all of her modules. And notice she has a little bit of a different way of outlining her modules. She starts with a heading for module 1, and then she's got sections, and then module 2, and then sections. Let's take a look at her Start Here first. So she's got her welcome video, and notice again she's got the time that students will spend watching the video so that they know in advance how much time they'll be dedicating. She also does a syllabus review and a little quiz that she gives them extra credit for signing off on that, and I'll show you that just so you can see what that looks like. So it's somewhat of a contract that they're going to commit to having read the course policies, that they understand how the office hours will take place, that there will be 4 exams using Respondus Lockdown Browser, which we'll talk more about, and that they've read all of the policies on quizzes and journals and all of the course activities. Okay, so looking at her office hours, so she lists how they'll access them and states when the office hours will take place, regularly on Mondays and Fridays, and the time frame. Okay, so for module 1, we'll take a look at the first section. Notice that she uses a learning guide, and this is one of the aspects of the Conquering the Content book that's emphasized, that you would put in advance of each section what the students can expect to do, so what they'll need to know through the course of this portion of their study, what tools will actually support them in what they need to know, and what they'll actually do. So she gives them their objectives, how they'll learn the content for those objectives. So they'll do some reading, they'll listen to a lecture, and they'll do a health assessment, and then they'll take a quiz. So here's that first lecture. Notice she uses a little icon to indicate that this is a lecture by her, and then the link out to a health assessment, and then their quiz. And so she tells them that they'll have 20 minutes, that it's a 10-item quiz, and that it's open book, and makes a suggestion that they won't have enough time to look things up, so they really need to be prepared for the quiz. And then in section 2, again, she has the learning guide. And notice how she only has one spot where she needs to update time and date. She has them watch a video. She gives them the time, She has several small lectures, 13 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, and then a link to a TED Talk, and then the quiz on that section. So section 3, very similar, again with the learning guide and the lectures. And then she has a full-length feature film called The Doctor that's related to her course content, and we'll talk more about that, but this is using our campus media site server where you can have ITS digitize a film that's either owned in our library or part of your collection, and it's available only through the course to students authenticated in the course for a short time period. And then the students respond with a journal prompt and they take a quiz. So again, she's got the learning guide so they know what to expect, and again they're doing a quiz and a journal entry. They'll take a stress assessment and she gives them the instructions. And so this here is a link, but she also provides the link just in case for some reason that one doesn't work. They can copy and paste it. So that's the accessible way to do this, and we'll go over that in more detail. So notice down here she also has an area that's dedicated to just what the graded items and assignments are. So if they click on discussion and blogs, they'll see that there's a discussion about questions about the course that they can ask. This helps to minimize the amount of individual emails she gets and has to respond to. She asks them to ask the questions there so that anyone can see the response rather than it being an individual email. And then they've got some blog posts that they'll do and some discussion board posts. So it's possible to link things such that everything they do is within a module area, but that you can also have a link to this spot here where it's in a general spot so we can talk about those different design features. But if they do know that they just need to get a journal done, they can come straight to that journal versus, as you saw, there were links from the content area. So let me go back to that and show you. So these links here, this journal link takes them to that same spot. So it's essentially a link to that journal, which also sits here. So they know that they either complete it within the context of that module or they can go straight there and complete it. Same is true of the quizzes. They're all linked back. So either they're coming from the content area to that spot or vice versa. So notice this is just a course link to module 1. So if they come into the course and they know they just need to get that quiz done, they can come straight here or they can go to the module. So it's kind of a design way to get the same thing done from multiple places. And then here are all her exams. And so Respondus Lockdown Browser is its own browser, much like Internet Explorer or Chrome or Firefox. What Respondus Lockdown Browser does is requires that the students log in through that browser. So we provide a link for them to download it, and then they can only take the quiz or the exam through this browser. And what it does is it keeps them from being able to open up other windows on their computer. It's best if you think of it as a way to minimize test crashes, because oftentimes students will click around and then their test will crash. This doesn't allow them to click around. So it's best for that function, especially in large classes where you won't have to reset a whole bunch of tests because students are clicking around and crashing out. It's intended to help minimize cheating, but keep in mind that they could just as easily have their phone or another computer or device where they're looking up answers. So it's not really meant for that as strongly because it doesn't prevent them from using other options. But we'll go over this in more detail together. And remember that you have the opportunity to look more closely at her course and her materials and how she designed it. Now let's take a look at Stuart Voitila's TFM 430 course. Notice that he also has a Start Here section, and then he's got some information above the actual units that he has the students utilize. So you're welcome to use whatever order and naming convention you want to use, but you'll see that it's helpful perhaps beyond just listing the number of the module or the week to put the topic, because oftentimes students will refer back with the idea that they want to look at the 1970s shows, for instance, versus if it was just listed as Unit 3, they wouldn't have that information as readily available to them. Keep in mind that as much information that will help trigger their memory as to what content area they want to visit, that will be helpful to them. And I haven't been pointing out the announcements so much, but notice how extensively you may use the announcements area. Compiles them such that the very beginning one, of course, is at the very bottom. So originally the students just received Stuart's message of welcome and the textbook information they need. And then as he posts announcements, they move the older ones down and the newer ones come up, such that there's always a record of what he's posted. Additionally, announcements can be used to send to the students' email so that it's not just something that they get when they come into the course, but they get an email letting them know that there's something added or there's something that the instructor wants them to know. So it's a very, very useful tool, and it keeps a running record so that even you as the instructor don't have to go back to your email, but you can see the running list of announcements that you've sent out. And so in addition to holding live office hours, Stuart recorded them so that students who missed them could listen and find out what they missed if they weren't able to attend live. So let's take a look at his units. And so notice that he has a kind of standard way that he presents the material. They might start with a quiz, but mainly notice he lists the learning outcomes for the unit, gives them a study guide, and it's for the unit screenings and readings, and it helps to keep them focused on what he wants them to find most important. And so here's a lecture that's 16 minutes long, and then he has a link to Mediasite, which is providing his streaming videos. They keep a TV log. They listen to some lectures of his, and again notice 13 minutes long, 19 minutes long. They watch a video clip. Here's how his unit flows. And so if you'd like to get more of a feel of how long each unit would last, that's a good way to dive in and take a look at his syllabus and the schedule for the course and what they were supposed to be doing when. The nice thing about this design is because it's not based on dates like weeks, he could morph this from summer to the semester and just simply change the due dates of when they were supposed to attend to certain things within the unit without having to change the whole structure of the course. So that's a nice thing to keep in mind as you're building your course, that it might flow easily between summer sessions and whole semesters. Again, similar design to the next unit where they're taking a quiz on the previous content. They can take a look at the expected learning outcomes, and then he lists when the different assignments are due, what they should be doing when. It's a very nice, consistent design. If you get a chance, be sure to listen to Stuart's welcome video. He does a very nice job of welcoming the students, and then he's got other resources that are available to them, so things that they might use as they're working through the course. Here is Shauna Saponchik's Psychology 230 course, and I wanted to show you a variation on the course calendar where she lays out the weeks, topics, and due dates on the page such that they can just see it at a glance. So notice week 1 for a summer session course, if they do everything included here by Sunday, May 27th, they will have completed that first week's content. In week 2, they take an exam on the week 1 content, and that due date is listed, and then here's the content for that week and the due date. They take exam 2, the content for that following week and the due date, and so on. So it's a real consistent design. In addition to being able to just click and see that, they can also click to print a version of it. And so here's what Shauna's weekly modules look like. She lists the dates so they know which time frame they're looking at. So she has a welcome video, an introduction to the week. They use the discussion board to introduce themselves to each other. And then she has a syllabus quiz that requires that until they pass it at 100%, they won't see the content for week 1. So she puts a note that if they don't see the week 1 folder, they haven't completed the syllabus quiz for 100%. And so then once they do pass that quiz, that folder becomes visible to them, and they can see her narrated PowerPoint lectures for each chapter. The MindTap assignment, so she's using the publisher resources included with Cengage's MindTap, and so she has that content plugged directly into each unit or each week, so the students don't have to go out to find it. They click on those links and get to that content. And then at this level, she provides the rubric for the discussion, and she's using the built-in Blackboard discussion board for interaction. So week 2 looks very similar in that they come in and they see the exam, which covers the previous week's work, and then they can move on to her lectures, and she lets them know that this chapter lecture is 20 minutes long. They have one 9 minutes, and so on. So she gives them a heads up on what to expect on each of those. And then she does a weekly check-in, so kind of just a short video. She often features her friends in her yard, so a different video each week. And so be sure to check out some of those when you go into copy of the course. And then again, each week follows the same pattern, so they know exactly what to do as they work through the course. We hope you found this tour useful and look forward to all of the questions that came up as you watched the video. You should see the copies of the courses in your Blackboard course list shortly. Feel free to poke around and copy content knowing that you won't hurt anything since they're copies of the original courses. We thank everyone who shared their courses in this way and hope you'll do the same with yours.